I'm Samuel, social media manager for SK Motions, and we are going to take a look at how Rebelle papers are being made.
Did you know that to create digital papers for Rebelle, we first have to make them the traditional physical way? It may not seem like it, but each paper takes a ton of effort to get just right. In this video, we will show you how a Rebelle paper is made from the very beginning. We begin by tearing pages from old books to create our cold-pressed typography paper. We shred the book pages and soak the pieces in water. Then we blend them into a mixture and pour it into clean water to get the just right consistency. Sometimes we even mix different paper types together. Once the mixture is ready, we use a mold and decal to scoop it up and drain out the excess water. When it's evenly spread across the screen, voila, we got the base of our paper. We carefully press it onto a dry surface and sponge out more moisture. The final texture depends on the mold surface, but we often add a plastic layer with a custom texture that gives the paper its unique look. Lifting the paper off the mold is the most delicate part. We have to time it just right. If the base isn't set enough, the sheet can tear and damaged paper can't be fixed. That's why every move counts. Great, the paper turned out just right. Now we can dry it. If we want a cold-pressed finish, we place the paper into a press and flatten it without heat. For hot-pressed paper, we take it a step further, ironing it with heat until it's almost completely smooth. That's why hot-pressed papers have a much smoother surface finish. But this paper's journey isn't over yet. We will show you what happens next later in the video. Making a felt paper base is a creative adventure. We start by layering the wool fibers on a screen, first vertically, then horizontally. Then comes the magic. We pour warm water over the wool and cover it with a soft fabric. Now the show begins. We gently rub soap over the surface and smooth it out by hand. This process helps the fibers interlock into a flat, even sheet. We check the texture along the way. Hand smoothing alone can take up to 30 minutes. It may look simple, but it takes a tons of practice and skilled hands of our artist who's been mastering felt for years. Once the fibers are bonded, we carefully lift the sheet from the based fabric and start pressing the water out. The result? A beautifully soft felt surface. Want a rougher look? Then we need to get rougher too. We work harder and harder to remove moisture. And it works like a charm. The final surface has a gorgeous, rough texture with natural bumps and personality. Preparing your favorite linen or cotton canvases is a whole different story. We start with a raw canvas and coat it with tinted acrylic primer, and sometimes we even spice things up. Our canvases are designed to highlight the subtle qualities of different painting techniques, enriched with the organic beauty of natural materials. To create unique textures, we mix unexpected ingredients like asphalt, chili flakes or spelled grains. Yes, we get very creative. Moreover, we play with the shape, thickness and direction of the brush strokes to bring variety to each surface. The result? Bold, richly textured canvases that add serious character to your artwork. Our paper's journey continues into the scanner. But this isn't your everyday scanner. It's a beast. The kind used to create high-end reproductions of real paintings. Just turning it on and letting it warm up takes about 45 minutes. We carefully set the scanning height based on texture of each surface to make sure every detail is razor sharp. Scanning a single sheet can take 20 to 40 minutes, but we never scan just one. From dozens of handmade sheets, we choose at least 3 with the most beautiful texture. Then we scan them all and pick the ultimate winner. That's the one you see and paint on in Rebelle. Once we scan the paper, we zoom in and carefully select the highest quality part of it. We avoid any repetitive patterns, because in Rebelle, papers are tied seamlessly and anything too regular would stand out. We do seamless styling manually, cloning, editing and removing any visible seams or unwanted curling. Then we create natural looking deckled edges for each side of paper and blend them together using our internal tools. If the deckled edges are too long, we trim or smooth them to keep the paper within the desired format. Next, we fine-tune the surface friction to make the digital painting feel as close to real brush on paper as possible. And finally, we adjust the visibility of the paper's texture so it looks and feels just right. To make things even more interesting, every paper in Rebelle needs its own detail map for nanopixel. That's the ultra-fine texture you see when you zoom in 1 nanopixel is on. To create the detail map, we start with a close-up sample of the real paper we handcrafted. We study it under a microscope and take precise photos. Then we make a series of JPEG images with different brightness and contrast levels. These are merged into a single HDR image, a high dynamic range texture that holds all that juicy detail. That becomes our detail map. Finally, we test the paper inside Rebelle to tweak the settings and make sure every detail is razor sharp. After all that work, the paper is finally ready to meet Rebelle artists. That's when the next part of its story begins, the more colorful, creative and artistic one, in your hands.